So, hi, Women Rise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with,
I'm Cooper.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Josh, and we are Hands Like Houses.
and we're some questions here about the upcoming album, Atmospheric. So, congrats on that, by the way. How do you guys feel about the response to the announcement so far?
It's been great. It's definitely like presented like so many different options, especially because we're releasing quite a different variety of music and stuff as well, and still with a few songs to go, and some of them being our favorites. It's been awesome, and also the response from live as well has been like better than anything we've sort of expected. Like the live shows have been like number one. It's been awesome so far, and everything's been streaming really well, and we're about to kick into about 5.5 weeks of touring as well. So
Damn.
pretty much ready to make it happen.
Hell yeah.
God damn. Yeah,
Well,
that's incredible.
We've been following along since single one at, I feel like, the top of last year now, and been patiently waiting for this album. Excited to hear the last handful of tracks. It drops in like a couple weeks, right around Valentine's Day, right?
Pretty much.
Right
Yeah.
on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So dope.
Very
So
excited.
stoked. Hell yeah. So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
I think the album title for us was just a bit more of a broad umbrella that allowed us to put out a lot of music. You know, when we first started putting out songs, we kind of weren't sure if it would be a full record, how long the record would be, what it would be. But I think the idea for us was having a bit of a place where we could put out music faster. You know, historically for a lot of us has been, we'll record a song, we'll write a song, and we might be waiting a couple of years to put it out. And so I think the idea of doing Atmospherics kind of allowed us to go, cool, these 4 songs are ready and they're done. They're going to roll out. They're going to start. And it kind of allowed us to, I guess, rewrite the rules of how we put out music and how we wanted to do something as our first independent release. We kind of wanted to do something a little bit different and something that we haven't done before. And I guess show people a lot more of the journey and show people how it was evolving. Because, people that are watching, or like you guys said, if you've been listening from the first single, you're kind of seeing how it's progressed throughout from then. Stylistically, things have changed, things have gone heavier and lighter, and it's kind of gone in and out. So I guess Atmospherics wasn't necessarily a theme like lyrically for the album. It was more of a loose concept that just helped us group songs together and put them out in that moment in time.
That's so interesting. So you guys have been basically like recording in 4-song chunks?
You could put it like that, yeah, more or less in chunks, whether it's 4 exactly. But yeah, we got a bit of ahead of ourselves at the start, and then, as in, we had plenty of songs to be rolling out, and we could sort of have a breather and then be working on the other songs while the first batch were rolling out.
Gotcha.
And that's one of the sort of benefits of being independent. We just kind of got to say or have the conversation and be like, well, what does this look like if we do it like this? And all the red tape and all of the bullshit sort of behind the scenes that you have to deal with all the different conversations with the label just aren't there. So we can just sort of play around and see what works.
Absolutely.
And it like gave us time to explore too, like working together sort of like for the first time in that as well. Like, it was an opportunity for us to get to know each other, not just as people, but also as writers, like how we're going to flow with each other in the room. How do we get the best out of each other? And I think that's something we're still like we've getting like better and better and better at it. And it's just improving, and it's becoming more and more positive. And it's just, an exciting experience.
Hell yeah, that's
100%.
awesome. I'm curious when the process kind of started, the first batch of songs, and then when you guys had the full thing finished and in hand, like rough time frames.
Oh, rough timeframes. Well, I mean, this is gonna like jump back a little bit to when we first started writing some of these songs. We actually didn't have a singer, so we'd started writing these songs purely just out of trying to keep our kind of creative outlets like moving and going forward. And one of the songs that we'd written, which was one of these early songs, was a song called Heaven that came that we were writing with our friend Josh, who we obviously toured with many years ago and had a good relationship with, and Josh kind of hit us up and was keen to work on songs. Like every, I think, musician and artist through COVID, everyone had been through different pathways and journeys to get to where they were, and Josh was really excited to be writing music with us. And I think as soon as he wrote that song, it really probably changed the direction of where we were going, because I think we all knew at the time that this was going to be the next evolution, and it kind of just kicked off that whole bunch of songs.
It's so funny that he basically just like assimilated. You basically just assimilated yourself into the band. You started out like co-writing a song, and all. Now you're the fucking front man of the band.
I'm kind of like a chameleon. Like, I just kind of like blend into my surroundings a little bit. It's one of my few good traits.
I love that. Hell yeah.
It's wonderful.
So can you guys tell us a little bit about your writing process for the record across the board?
It's been pretty sporadic, like obviously with all of us like being in like living in separate places. Like Joel lives in Bermagui, which is like 3 hours or so out of Canberra. Coops lives in Canberra. I live in Perth. Al lives in LA. Parky also lives in Canberra. So it's been a bit sporadic. There's been a lot of stuff online, but we try and really hone out songs together. So we usually carve out a time in the year where we do like a 2-week, 3-week block of just like writing and dialing it in with our producer. And it's been great. It's definitely been like a whole unique process, especially like for me coming into a different like world of sound and music and genre and stuff as well. And then discovering new parts of my voice and obviously working with the guys and stuff as well. It's basically been like, to hit the nail on the head, it's just been like a whole refresh. Like it's been a self-discovery process for kind of all of us really, especially creatively, and especially being so open-minded. It's kind of given us such a great opportunity to just explore. And like that's kind of the reason why we all started writing music to begin with, and to be able to like get past all the jargon and get past all like other things that tend to roadblock a lot of artists has been really refreshing. And it's something we're still pretty much working on all the time. But the process overall has just been positive, really. Obviously, you reach like mental blocks and stuff, but in terms of like within each other and the creative process, it's overall really positive.
That's great to hear.
Great to hear.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. So what song off the album took longest to write, and then which one is each of your own personal favorite?
Say the longest.
Great question.
Longest to
write.
write.
Yeah.
Maybe we can start with individual favorites while we think of what took the longest.
Yeah. What do you got?
It's so hard to pick one because there's so many different flavors on like one. But I'll go first. I think just to be a bit less, because I like a lot of them for different reasons and stuff, but probably The End, which is one that hasn't been released yet. I think it just encompasses a lot of just a great like something I connect with a lot lyrically and melodically. It's just fun and playful, and it goes into different like worlds. It can go soft, and it's still quite rhythmic as well, and it's got lots of instrumental moments. Overall, it's just a great song. I just love the fucking song, and we're going to be playing it live around this run, and we've just been like playing it live for the first few times, and it's just been epic. So that song for me is probably at the top of my list.
Yeah, I think for me it's funny. Like I'm gonna say The End and a song called ICU, which also hasn't come out yet, because we're playing both of these songs in our set at the moment, and I think they're probably just my favorites because I've heard them least or not played them as much yet. They may be just fresher, but I've got a joint too for that. Yeah,
I was still going with Hollow. I really enjoyed that song. That was from the second batch of songs. And it's just a nostalgic feeling sounding song. And I'm glad we got to capture that warm sort of feeling with it.
Yeah. And it kind of came together pretty quick too, in terms of like the concept and lyric and stuff. Like it was one of those ones that kind of like fell out of the sky a little bit.
Yeah.
Song that took the longest.
Probably maybe 24 hours, because you guys had that instrumental for like years.
I'd say probably 24 hours, which was the first track off the second kind of batch EP. It's a song that we've probably had for maybe 4 or 5 years floating around. It's had a lot of different iterations, and even when we kind of got it close to this final form, it still changed a lot. Structure changed a lot, was getting chopped and changed. So that's probably the one that took the longest, probably by a fair bit, actually.
All right.
Okay.
So how did the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener to be the opener, close to be a closer, shuffle and see what fits? What was that process like?
Yeah, bit of everything really. I think one of the other sort of processes with the album we didn't mention is that our producer Cal has been like quite a big part of it as well, in terms of not just showing up with flexibility when we've had the opportunity to all meet up together before a tour or whatever like that, but also just as part of the process, and his ideas as well really sort of contributed to the whole concept. But in terms of like the order,
It's kind of just what was finished. Yeah. Like by
Mm.
the time we had the first four finished, the back eight, I don't even think were written yet.
Mm.
And so I think Heaven being the first song that we wrote with Josh made sense to be like, this is how we're coming out. Like this is a good place to start. And I think then when we got to a place where we're like, all right, we're finishing more of the album, we kind of were then trying to place things and be like, all right, what's a nice change of mood next, or what kind of feels the same. And the end being the end of the album wasn't intentionally actually written for it, but when we kind of sat there and looked at the whole project, we were like, it is quite a nice finishing song for us. So I think it ended up being a great choice, and coincidentally just happened to be called The End. So,
Yeah.
Exactly. Happy accident.
Happy accident. Definitely a happy
It's a great
accident.
way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't because I looked at the track list briefly before this, isn't it just the EPs like as they were released, so it kind of like structures it in those chunks that you guys released it, and the vibes that you meant for those EPs to kind of have?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
And also with a lot of features being on the album and stuff too, it was kind of like, splitting that up and making that work and stuff as well, which was a great, honestly, part of the album as well. Being able to get so many different influences from great artists and stuff as well was awesome.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
all
that's
the
huge.
features have been have made the rollout so fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Solid. And would you guys be able to tell us where your headspace is at while you're creating the record? I know it was kind of over the course of a couple months, but if you're able to kind of break it down for us, that'd be awesome.
I mean, it was definitely an interesting headspace coming from the back of sort of changing vocalists. But I think, like as Josh touched on before, we were just beginning to sort of getting the opportunity to refresh the process. And so our headspace was kind of like, well, for me personally, like exploring sonically what our music sounded like with Josh's voice, as well as what Josh's voice can do to then sort of feed back on our music to be like, okay, where can we go with Josh's voice and what can we do in the future? And I think part of this project was kind of just a big exploration with that. Knowing that, okay, if we're playing around with all these different songs sonically, and what feels good moving into the future, we get to even refine a bit more and hone in on a bit more of it. And so for me, headspace wise, like this was just fun because the vibe was so good. In the camp, everyone wanted to be there and writing music, which is, it's been a while for us to have that sort of situation happening. And so yeah, it was just a really positive, like no one could do anything wrong. It was all just like, what can we bring to the table, what sounds good, what feels good, and yeah, a big focus on just like a positive space to be in.
I think maybe the first, probably for the first time potentially since our first record that we made, it's like we didn't have pressure to make anything, which was maybe a big difference, is that we were making it because we wanted to make it, and we were all there because we wanted to be there. There wasn't all right, we have 2 months off a busy 18-month touring schedule. We've got to go make a record. It's got to sound like this. It's got to feel like this. It's got to have singles like this. It was kind of a completely different approach to us because it's our first independent record. We didn't have to send anyone songs and be like, cool, this is ready. It was, we made songs and we were like, we think they're ready. They're done. Let's move those on and free up more space to get better at doing this. And it's kind of what the whole process has been, a bit of a trial and error of just understanding like our own creative processes and just getting better at that. And I feel like this, it's a 16 track kind of double album. And I feel like that's really just opened the door for what I think we're going to be able to do together.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Out of curiosity, like, was it always an album from the start, or did that idea kind of evolve?
I feel like it evolved because we kind of just started writing single songs. And like, I mean, the guys had the idea of an album beforehand because originally the album was going to be not really, because obviously when I wasn't a part of the picture, it was going to be a bunch of different songs from different artists or whatever. It could have been anything. I think the guys were just writing for the sake of it. But
yeah,
album was definitely in mind, but double album kind of came around when we were like, we enjoyed writing. Like, we were like, let's just write one fucking song.
I think the goal was to get a song out, and then I think when things started happening, I guess fast and easily, it just gave us space to be like, well, let's package it as an album because there's a lot coming out. You know, there was no shortage of songs or ideas, so I think it naturally just evolved into that. It was like, is it going to be 2 layers of the atmosphere? Is it going to be 7? Is it going to be 4? Like I, you know, we didn't really know how it would be, how that would go, but it felt like 4 felt like a good even number. 4.
Yeah.
Four
But
degrees of
we were
force.
even looking at like, all right, what do we need to do an album? Like, is it the album construct just because of it's an obsolete idea that the labels push because that's how they can package stuff like that? So, you know, is that still important? And you know, having all those conversations and figuring it out as we went, and we just sort of ended up with what we ended up with the album. But yeah, it was cool to just, again, I think we keep sort of mentioning this, but being that independent space of just being like, it doesn't have to be anything. It can be whatever the fuck we want it to be.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just like just a nice space to be in. Yeah, and just interesting as well because it just gives us the freedom to play with not just the music, to play with how it rolls out, play with each other. But like, and, you know, that's shit's so important, man.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
No, it was there, and I'm glad you took it.
Beautiful.
But like, you know, that's what's important, especially in creativity, in creative spaces. Otherwise, you dry up and become
There's a lot of
salty.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah. Absolutely.
So how do you recommend your fans to listen to this album for the first time? Should you do in the car with friends and dark with headphones on? Is it a workout album, party album? What do you guys personally recommend?
Honestly, just wherever you feel comfortable, wherever you feel safe in like a comfortable space. If that's surrounded in a group of people somewhere and that's how you like to digest your music or where you feel most comfortable, I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think the best way to digest any music is just when you feel ready and open to something new and you're in a comfortable space. That's the only thing I feel like to recommend. It's like, and I think as you go through the album, you realize maybe certain songs have different moods and different feelings for maybe different situations. You know?
I think it's an interesting album to do like front to back
Yeah.
for people who are curious of like where we landed and where we got to in the end. But I also think it very much could be a shuffle album. I don't usually say about that, but someone could just start anywhere in the 16 tracks and go back and forth, and I think it would still make probably just as much sense.
All right, hell yeah.
Sure, I agree. Yeah. And this one should be super, super quick off the top of your heads. I want you guys to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. 3 words each, 9 total, no more, no less.
I would say layered, honest, and somewhat unknown in a strange way. Like for me, I feel like for my personal feeling for it, coming into it, like a lot of it was an unknown. And to me, going through the album, the part that I like the most is that when I'm listening to this, when these songs were written, I didn't really know where a lot of this was going to come from. So the idea of it being a little unknown was actually kind of like a nice feeling for me. So I kind of still get that when we play and do these songs, because I even still discover things about these songs live, even when I'm singing it, like, oh, I can do this differently and do that differently, because it was such a different process and reopened my relationship with music. I don't know. It sounds strange, but that's kind of my 3 words.
Those are good. Hell yeah.
I'm gonna go. I don't have a third one. I'm gonna go reflective.
Where did I go last?
I'm gonna go riffs.
Okay.
And then for the sake of this like OCD, I really want a third word to start with R as well.
Thank you.
I'm gonna pass on to Coops and I'm gonna finish with my third word when he's finished.
I actually just can't think of anything. A journey would be one, and I think it's a bit of an adventure through the 16 songs, to be honest. Some different sonic landscapes for sure.
Different sonic landscapes.
There we go.
There you go.
Shit.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
No,
I didn't think of that.
I'll take that for sure. Yeah,
nice.
I really struggle with this last R word. I'm just gonna go rad.
right.
There you
Hell
go.
yeah.
Bringing it home. Love it. And in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through the album?
I think, like anything, if you're listening to something new, and especially with this situation of like me being new and the whole process sort of being new, I think maybe open-minded
That'd be good.
to the reason, not just like why the songs are there and the reasons for the songs, but also the journey leading up to that,
Mhm.
and just I guess where the journey's going, and that the fact that it's just people making music for the sake that they love to make music. That's all it is.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Damn right. Right. And are you guys able to touch on any particularly challenging or standout moments during the creation of the album, positive or negative?
Oh, I got my appendix out and I was in hospital for like 3 weeks.
Jesus.
We cancelled a tour, or moved a tour, which was
Yeah.
pretty hectic. And the
Yeah.
guys were
Oof.
again being independent. That would have been like we keep hammering that, but like that would have been much more of an issue, I think, with the label. But because we were sort of like in our own worlds and it's kind of was on us, and the
Mhm.
venue stuff were open to that, it kind of yeah, that was definitely a challenge
Oh, damn.
mentally and physically, before and after sort of stuff, like because it was
Mhm.
just so new. But that was definitely just like a hurdle for me personally.
I think
Absolutely.
highlight for me was we'd kind of like thinking back, we kind of have these 4 EPs and kind of these 4 batches, and they were kind of done across 4 different spaces, which was kind of interesting now that I think about it. But the 3rd batch of songs, I think, was where we got a lot of the bones to the record was done, a lot of the feeling for the record was done, and we were at this like beautiful coast house just overlooking the ocean, and I think it was just such a probably the most relaxed recording experience we've had because there was no pressure on us. I think we had that confidence of a lot of the tracks being done, and we were just able to really enjoy being in like a beautiful area and making music by the beach. So that was pretty special.
Yeah, I agree
That's
with those answers.
Hell yeah. All right.
Solid. All right.
So for this question, since you guys are about to go on tour, we got to ask, what's your go-to snack at a gas station or a rest stop?
But our gas stations are so
Oh,
much different too. Like,
yeah.
y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
the
petrol
ones in
station,
State-
right?
Yeah, petrol station.
Yeah. Come on. Come on.
Yeah,
Petty.
you know what's up.
Look, the snacks are gonna be probably like Shapes, which is like an Australian fried biscuit chip.
Lots of
crisp
lots of
thing.
chippies,
Lots
like
of crisps. Okay.
potato crisps. I think
Mm.
there would be definitely a drum will definitely be getting some Red Bulls and bees.
Yeah, Red
There's
Bull,
some Roadie in there as well.
Oh,
I
double.
mean, I don't know. It's gonna be hard. I'm trying to like be good this tour in terms of not eating like crap because it's an
Mhm.
easy habit to fall into, especially on the road.
So green
sure.
apples for Josh.
So green apples. I don't.
Mm.
Yeah, just
When we are in the
Apples,
States,
man.
I always get pretty stoked to get one of those giant pickles. And like, I get 2 bites in and then I kind of hate it. But every time there's those 2
Abs-
bites.
You have to. Yeah.
Part of
Damn
the
right. I
experience.
fucking love those. Mm-hmm.
What was my what are those Cheetos called?
Oh,
over
the
there?
Takis.
No, not the Takis. Not the Takis. They're like
Spicy.
I've lost it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you find it, just blurt it out. All right.
Yeah.
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 Wonderful. All right. And on the topic of food, if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Lasagna because of the layers.
lasagna because of the layers.
Look, that works.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
Relating to this album, layers of the atmosphere, layers of the atmosphere. I guess either
I mean, I don't hate it.
lasagna or like an onion. I guess.
You know,
Yeah.
onion-
Playing off
So
the
something
layers.
with
thing.
layers.
Yeah,
I
As a
love.
dish.
I like it.
Onion.
An onion, or maybe lasagna is probably the way.
Or
Like a
it's-
bloomin' onion.
But like a bit saucy.
A little
Mhm.
stew. Or
Yeah.
just hanging out in a little soup
Okay.
together. Be nice and warm.
Nice and warm.
All right.
We've moved a lot, but if we're settled on stew, we'll
Playing
take
with
stew.
each other in the stew, you know.
Very warm,
Where is this going? What is happening right
saucy. Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Oh god!
All
I just
right.
felt some of my brain cells vanish from my mind.
Yeah.
And for the last couple questions, going to shift completely away from music and go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Oh, good question.
Thank
Oh, it's hard. If I'm going to die, is it like I was gonna say like something like KFC, but it's like it's kind of like a cop out because you can't really. Every time I eat it whilst living, I feel like crap afterwards. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna die afterwards. So I may as well.
reprieve then.
Yeah.
Well, not.
It's
Ew.
almost like kind of a release. It's like, oh, I feel like crap. Like, yeah, just end it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're pre-gaming death.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
pretty
going
gaming
there.
death.
That's a good way
Like
to look at it. Yeah.
I'm going fried dumplings and a beer.
Hell yeah.
That's my-
Solid. I love fried dumplings.
Man, yeah. A salad sandwich.
Boo!
Look, I'll take a little tomato bisque on the side, but yeah, salad sandwich, crispy, delicious. It's like the greatest thing in the world.
God, hell yeah, hell
Alright.
yeah, that's incredible.
Glad you
and
feel-
I'm not.
Not a fan. And if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm going Atlantis. I've been reading that book to my son. It looks
Mhm.
mad. It looks mad down there.
Looks and sounds mad. Yeah, it's crazy. Crazy work.
Yeah, I'm going there.
Oh, I remember. I don't know why this has popped into my head, but it's two things. Either love medieval stuff, so just for the to be in the presence of medieval stuff or ancient stuff would be sick. But I'm gonna
Mhm.
go like I don't know, I think it's like Spy Kids 2 or something, where there's like the dessert world, like all the
Oh,
that sort of stuff, and like it
Yeah.
might be. It's like the one where they're in a video game, and everything is just like hectic food, and it's like
Yeah.
oversized. I'm like,
yeah.
That's inspiring me.
so
I'm
dope.
very
pumped about that.
cloudy with the chance
I
of
was thinking
meatballs
that.
and make hot
Ooh,
chip
that's a
great.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
could have fun in that world.
All right. And I've asked the last question. Every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
Blue.
Maroon.
Green.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Love it. Love it.
So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you guys would like to plug?
I guess just
New album.
new album, couple
Valentine's
weeks
Day.
on Valentine's Day. Thank you to everyone who's been listening and on a part of the journey. We're on tour now for the next 5 weeks.
Mm.
Appreciate every single one of you and appreciate you as guys as well. Good Noise for having us.
Of course.
That's all.
Enjoy your Valentine's Day
Yeah.
with some hard heavy rock.
Some
If you-
riffs.
If you
some,
don't,
what'd
yeah.
you say again? Rad riffs.
Rad riffs, rad reflective riffs.
There you go.
Oh,
Um,
fuck. That's
if
beautiful.
you don't have a Valentine's, we will be your Valentine's. Our album will be your Valentine's Day. So
Done.
Love that.
That's beautiful. Hell yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for silence, guys. It's been Hands Like Houses, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.